Okay, the greens are another secret behind the Mediterranean diet. Okay, this is a lot of spinach, and when you cook spinach, it changes a little bit from a big bulky vegetable. It's going to wilt and really condense down. I'm going to add it slowly. Notice I barely chopped it, just into a little bit of a smaller piece. And I have some stems in there, and that's okay too. But the spinach is going to condense down. And whenever you buy frozen spinach, you're actually one block of frozen spinach, which is about a cup, has about 6 cups of fresh spinach in it. And that is full of vitamins and minerals. Spinach is known to be one of the best leaves you can eat because of their vitamin. I'm stuck on vitamins and minerals today. My other classes are doing my plate and vitamins and minerals, so we've been talking about that all week. So that's why I'm on such a health kick today. Alright, so this is going to wilt down, and we want to get all the moisture out of it, so we do want to let it saute for a moment here. While I chop the green onions, I'm going to add a little bit of kosher salt to it, to give it a little bit of flavor. And I'm just going to let it cook on its own here. And I'm going to chop some green onions, which have a little bit of a different flavor than the yellow onions I already chopped. Okay, for green onions, you want to chop the little finger-like projections off and toss them. And I'm just going to give this a kind of a small, rough chop. Alright, lastly to this part of the dish, I'm going to add some fresh parsley. I'm going to pass around a little bit of it. I want you to smell it and just kind of think about when you use dry parsley. Okay, we use dry parsley for a lot of different things. Okay, in lab, we've used it in the ravioli, we've used it in a lot of different things. The difference between fresh parsley and dried parsley, besides the taste, is really the texture. With fresh parsley, you're getting a fresh, crispy texture, which is what we want. Which is why it's good to use fresh parsley for this particular dish. Most of the time we use dried parsley because it's cheaper. And because parsley is one of the milder herbs, so it doesn't add a whole lot of flavor, even when it's fresh. Alright. And that's it for our greens. Okay, as you can see, Spanakopita, there's no meat in this. This is a vegetarian dish. But you're not going to taste the spinach, and that's the great part about this. So if you're ever having people for dinner over that are vegetarian, this is a neat thing to make. A lot of people in America haven't tried this, and actually I tried it for the first time at a Greek restaurant downtown in February and loved it. I thought it was really good. So I'm going to let that kind of continue to cook for just a minute here, and I'm going to move on to our next part. Okay, next we're going to make the rest of our filling, which is going to be made of a mixture of egg, ricotta, and feta. You've tried feta. Show of hands. Feta cheese. Okay, Dominique's tried feta. Anybody else? Okay. Feta is crumbly, as you can see. And it has a pretty unique texture. It's really well known as being a Greek cheese, to be quite honest. And the Greeks put it in their salads and a lot of other foods. We're going to add it directly to our filling. also going to add 2 eggs. And a half of a cup of ricotta. What other country uses a lot of ricotta? We just did this country. What other country uses a lot of ricotta cheese? Italy. Very good. Okay, so I'm just going to mix this together. And we're eventually going to mix this cheese mixture in with this spinach mixture. And it's going to bake together. Alright, I'm going to take this off the heat to let it cool down a little bit. And I'm going to set this to the side as well. Okay. Alright, lastly for our dish, we're going to make the crust, I suppose. The thing that makes this really different is the phyllo dough. Otherwise, this dish is very similar to quiche, which is a French dish. Okay, the phyllo dough is very, very, very thin sheets of pastry dough, essentially. And this one's kind of crinkly. Okay? It's paper thin. I can see you almost right through it. And it has a little bit of cornstarch on the outside to separate the layers from each other. Phyllo dough you can't really make on your own. You have to buy it because it's already been pressed. It's machine pressed to make it so thin. And it's found in a lot of different Greek dishes and Mediterranean dishes, including baklava, which is a dessert. So we're going to make this in an 8x8 casserole dish, and I'm just going to put some oil on the bottom to keep it from sticking. And I'm going to layer these sheets of phyllo dough, and it's going to be kind of our crust. Okay? I'm just going to layer them individually, and you have to put oil on each sheet to keep them from sticking to each other. Well, we actually to cause them to stick to it. We want them to stick to each other. And I'll pass this around since it's kind of damaged, but you can just kind of feel the texture of it. We won't use this one since you're going to put your hands all over it. But we're eventually going to put the filling in the middle of this dish and then cover it with some more phyllo dough. Now this dish does have a lot of olive oil. Like I said, the Mediterranean diet is very high in fat, but they're good fats. Okay, fat has a bad reputation for being really bad for you, but it depends on the kind of fats that you're eating. I'm going to do about 5 layers on the bottom and about 5 layers on the top. You can toss it, James. Alright, so into this I'm going to put my mixture. I'm actually going to stir it together first. And the filling is, like I said, very similar to quiche. How many of you remember quiche from culinary arts? When they demonstrated it?
Was it like the egg?
It's the egg pie. Yeah. Very similar. So I'm going to pour my mixture right into the middle. Spread it evenly, and then I'm going to cover it with more phyllo dough. I'm going to tuck these layers in. Could you, James? Would you let them know we're recording?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look at her. She just want to. Look at her.
Alright, so I tucked in those layers, and now I'm going to go the reverse way just to add a little texture to it. I'm going to tuck it in as I go this time, because the top layer we want it to look pretty. And we also want to weigh it down with the olive oil. You can see that one is kind of fluffed up. And we don't want it to puff up too much. Phyllo dough is kind of very similar to pastry, puff pastry. A lot of people are scared of using it because it's so different to work with, but it's really simple once you get the hang of it. Don't be afraid of it. In fact, we're probably going to make baklava in a couple weeks, which is a Mediterranean dessert, but they use phyllo dough as part of the dessert. It's kind of the base, the pastry crust. Alright, we'll go ahead and finish this off. There's no prescription for how much phyllo dough exactly you need to use. You can use as much as you want, really. The more you use, the more fat you're adding, though, and the more, with the olive oil. But you're also adding more flavor. Yeah, add a little more olive oil. Alright, last sheet. I'm going to fold it over to make it look nice and
How
pretty.
many you put on there, Miss Beard? 10?
About 5 on each layer, yeah.
5.
But it's very thin. You think about a pie crust and how thick a pie crust is. These are in such thin layers.
It doesn't even matter.
It's about the same thickness at the end as a pie crust would be. I'm going to put a little extra olive oil on the top layer to give it a golden brown color and to weigh it down so it doesn't fluff up while it's baking. Alright. On top of it, I'm going to put just a little bit more salt. And I'm going to put some dried parsley just for color. I think it makes it look pretty. And voila, we have our baklava.
So wait.
You can stop it.